You ever have one of those days where you're just minding your own business, maybe tinkering with a train set in your garage, thinking you finally got a moment's peace when someone knocks like they're announcing the apocalypse? That was the day Patricia Harmon showed up at my door holding a manila envelope so tight you'd think it held the nuclear code, standing there in her royal purple blazer like she was running for governor of Maple Grove Estates or something, and I just knew, deep in my bones, this wasn't going to be anything good. She looks me dead in the eye and says, "Thomas Mitchell, you are hereby summoned to appear in circuit court for violation of HOA Statute 7.3 subsection B." I swear she made it sound like a death sentence. Then she shoves the envelope at me, sealed with a gold star sticker, like something you'd get in kindergarten for coloring inside the lines, and stands back waiting for me to tremble. I ask her, "Patricia, what are you talking about?" And she jabs a finger at my little ceramic frog statue out by the flower bed, accusing it of being a crime against humanity, or at least against her decorative guidelines. This is my official summons, apparently. I take it more out of morbid curiosity than anything else. See, Patricia has been HOA president for 3 years now, and if you ask anyone on the street, they'll tell you she runs Maple Grove Estates like it's her own private kingdom. But fake court documents. That was a new one even for her. As she stomped off, heels pounding like a drill sergeant, I couldn't help but laugh. Then I actually opened the envelope. What I found inside was something else. Legal jargon, mashed together in a way that almost sounded right, but the case number looked like she'd just leaned on the keyboard. The official seal was a blurry photocopy, and the judge's signature, Honorable Judge Law Person. I worked as a compliance officer for 20 years before I retired. I know real legal paperwork. This was not it. But here's the kicker at the bottom, it said. If I didn't show up to her pretend court date, I'd be arrested and thrown in jail for 30 days. That's when I decided to call my old colleague Sandra, who went from finance to law. She almost choked laughing as I read it to her, but then she got serious. "Tom, this is forgery. Actual felony stuff. She could go to prison for this." You'd think Patricia would back off, right? Not a chance. Next morning, I find another envelope taped to my door. This time it's a warrant for immediate compliance. She claimed the county sheriff had authorized her to collect a $500 fine right then and there. The letterhead, Comic Sans. I wish I was kidding. At this point, I'm half laughing, half wondering if she's going to try to serve me with a medieval scroll next. So I take everything and head to the courthouse to confirm what I already know. The civil clerk sees the documents and immediately calls a supervisor. An hour later, I'm sitting across from Detective Raymond Holloway, fraud specialist. Turns out Patricia had been sending these fake legal threats to other neighbors too. 2 other complaints had already come in, but mine were the most elaborate. Apparently she'd upped her game. See, most folks just paid up thinking it was easier than fighting the HOA. But now with the forged court documents and threats of jail time, she'd officially crossed into criminal territory. Detective Holloway asks if I'll help build a case. I say absolutely. For the next 2 weeks, I become the unofficial neighborhood detective, talking to everyone, collecting every scrap of Patricia's fake paperwork, even recording our conversations whenever she'd come to check if I'd complied with her court orders. You know, the kind of stuff you only see in movies, except this was real life, and everyone was tired of being bullied. The big twist came when Patricia sent out a mass email to the entire HOA, attaching copies of her fake court victories against 5 of us, including me, bragging about how she'd forced homeowners to pay up or face her wrath. She was so proud you'd think she'd just won a Nobel Prize in pettiness. What she didn't know was that Detective Holloway was now copied on every HOA email, thanks to yours truly. 3 days later, the stage was set for her grand finale. Patricia called an emergency HOA meeting at the community center, claiming we were facing an epidemic of noncompliance. She brought a stack of fake injunctions, a podium, and get this, a gavel. Never once in 3 years had we needed a gavel. The room was packed, neighbors buzzing, some scared, some just curious what circus act she'd pull next. Patricia stands up and in her best queen, addressing the subject's voice, declares she's taking unprecedented legal action. She holds up her forged court papers, waving them like she's at a parade. That's when the double doors open and Detective Holloway strides in with 2 uniformed officers. Silence. You could hear the AC humming. He calls her name, Patricia Harmon. She goes pale. There's confusion, anger, then realization, like someone pulled the rug right out from under her. She manages a weak, Yes, and he hits her with the charges forgery, impersonating a government official, fraud. She tries to stand her ground. But I'm the HOA president. I have authority, clutching her documents like they're a shield. Holloway's stone-faced ma'am HOA presidents can't create court documents or threaten jail. Please put your hands behind your back. When the cuffs come out, she panics, grabbing her gavel, banging it on the podium. I hold you all in contempt. This meeting is adjourned, but the officers aren't playing. They arrest her right there while the whole neighborhood watches. She's still protesting as they lead her out, threatening us with her nephew, the lawyer, saying we'd all regret it. The minute she's gone, the room explodes. Half the neighbors are whispering, the rest in shock. I walk up, gather the scattered fakes, and say, I think we need a new HOA president. For the first time in a long time, the whole room laughs, and then they cheer. 2 months later, Patricia's trial begins. I go to every session, partly to support the other neighbors, partly because I want to see how this circus ends. The prosecution lays out a mountain of evidence, over 40 forged documents, almost $10,000 in fake fines, collected, at least 15 homeowners threatened. Her defense tries to spin it as overzealous leadership, like she just cared too much. But the forensic document guy testifies her forgeries were amateur, sure, but absolutely deliberate. Several neighbors get up and talk about the stress, the money lost, the sleepless nights. On the last day, Patricia takes the stand. You ever watch someone try to wriggle out of everything live on stage? She claims she was just trying to maintain property values, never meant to deceive thought. The online template was basically legal. When the prosecutor asks her about the fake judge signatures and the made-up case numbers, she deadpans. I thought that's how HOAs worked. Yeah, that happened. The jury barely takes 2 hours. They come back. Patricia's at the defendant's table, purple blazer, looking more like a Halloween costume than power suit, and the verdict is clear. Guilty. Judge Chin is stern but calm. Ms. Harmon, you weaponized fake legal documents, preyed on your neighbor's fear, and did real harm. He sentences her to 30 months in federal prison, 18 for forgery, 12 for fraud served consecutively. She's got to pay back every cent plus a $25,000 fine. As the sentence lands, Patricia just collapses, gasping, but I was just trying to keep the neighborhood nice. No one buys it, not anymore. And that's the story of how Maple Grove Estates finally got rid of its paper tyrant. We elected a new president, someone sane, and the neighborhood actually feels like a community again. But you know what? Even now, every time I see a purple blazer or a gold star sticker, I get this urge to double-check my mailbox. Guess that's how these things stick with you. So let me throw this to you. Was justice really served? Did Patricia get what she deserved, or was she just a product of a system gone mad? Drop your take in the comments. I gotta hear how you'd handle a Patricia in your own neighborhood, because trust me, there's one out there somewhere.